Hello and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be working on another React component, and this one's going to be progress bars. So we worked on a progress bar before, but this one's a little bit different. So in this one you have an app where you can click add, and then it adds bars to the page, and each bar takes approximately 2000 ms, and they start filling up smoothly, blah, 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 blah. Let's take a look. So essentially, yeah, so every time we add a bar, it has this gray bar and then it has this green thing. So before we had a gray background, but then we had like a percentage that we were given as a prop. Now it just always fills up to the end. And okay. And yeah, there's like a few ways you could do this. I think the best way is going to be using like just CSS. Basically, you could do some hacky way with like with giving like a width that increases with like a set timeout, and then you can calculate the width based on the set timeout, and it would just keep increasing. But then the component would have to just like re-render a lot. So there's a way to do that. But I think generally when you want something to move like this, you're going to want to just use CSS, because CSS provides like transitions and transformations to do these things. So I guess the first thing we can do is we can just like have these bars. So we can make a simple bar that's just a gray background, and we can have a state for that. So we could say like const bars set bars equals a state, and we'll make it 0. You could do 0. You could do you could make an array. Either one is fine, I guess. So you can basically have your state be an array of like 0 bars, because we're not using anything. We just need something to range over to make these bars. So we can do that below the button. So we could say, let's see, bars, or yeah. So we want to make an array actually from the number of bars. You can use length. You can do this way, fill null, and then if you do it this way, you basically need to do a fill, and then you need to do a map. So essentially every array element's going to be a progress bar here. So we can just take the bar, which we don't really need. We just care about the index. And then once we have the index, we can build a bar. So we can go progress bar with a key of the index. And you can use an index as a key here, because we're not going to be like moving them around, and we're never going to be like deleting. So generally you don't want to do that, but in this case it's fine. Okay. So we have this progress bar. Now we actually need to import useState, and okay. And we also need to actually use this set bars. So that's going to be the button. So on click, we're just going to add a bar. So we can do set bars and bars plus 1. Okay. So this will give us our bars. Now we actually, the rest of it, we can just focus on building the bars. So we can just, first, let's just build a gray background to see what it looks like. So function progress bar. Yeah. Okay. So we can just return like a div. So let's just start off returning that gray div. So we can call this like, we'll have like an outside and an inside or something. So we'll call this like outside or wrapper or whatever we want to call it. We can call it wrapper. Okay. So we want to return this div. We don't want it to have anything, but if you have a div with nothing in it, you need to provide it like width and height and like a background to see anything. Because like if you have this, you'll have something. Like if I just do this, it'll keep adding these. But if there's nothing in here, yeah, you're not going to have anything. So we need to actually give this thing width and height and all that. So let's do that. So we can just say the height is, we'll just try some stuff out. Let's just say like 10 pixels. Background color will be gray, some kind of gray. Maybe this guy. Okay, so 10 pixels seems really big. So I don't know why it's so big. Interesting. Okay, and then we can have like a margin top here also, so they're separated out. So we can do 5 pixels or 3 pixels or something. Okay. Oh, I see what's going on. So we have a bunch of these. So let's reset this guy and let's see what. Okay, so now we have a correct. So now let's go 10 again. And let's add some more. Okay, so and then we'll do margin 10 as well. Okay, there we go. So this is good. So this is going to be our bars. Yeah, and basically you need to give it this to see the bar. Okay. Next, we need to have this inner bar. So, and this is where we're gonna have the green bar. So we can call this, like, this is gonna be the actual bar. And this, so the background color would be green. The height will be the height of the container, so 100%. Okay, so now basically what's happening here is this green bar is on this gray bar, but we want this green bar to start at nothing, and then we want it to go left to right. So we can use a transform here, and the transform we want is we want scale x, meaning it's going to grow along the x-axis. We want it to start at 0. And then we can use a transition function. And a transition function, you basically just give it the property that's going to be changing and then how long it takes. So in this case, this transform will be changing. So the scale will go from 0 to 1, and 1 will be like it'll be fully done. So we can do that. So we can say transition, and then we can give it the transform. And then I think there's other transition stuff. So there's transition origin, or transform origin. We want this to be left, because if you don't give, let's just leave this the way it is for now and show that. And then we also want to give like transition time or something, transition duration. So we can give 2000 ms here. And then basically this bar, this next thing will need to be the bar that's actually full. So we can call this like full or something. And then this will be transform scale x, scale x 1. So 1 means it's like fully done, and then this is like not done. So we can just play around with this just to look at it. So if we add another thing, so let's just like say we have this. Okay, so now if we go bar, what is it, full or something? Okay, so you see how like it went out from the middle, but we want it to go left to right. So we need to add transform origin left. Now we try again. And so if you just have like all of this, then there won't be a transition. It'll just basically be right away this. So what we got to do is we got to get rid of this. So you see now what happens is it transitions from one to the other. And then if you add it, this is what we want. And yeah, so essentially this is what we want, but we need to like add it. We can't have it in right away. So like if we have it in right away and we add a new bar, it'll be this. But if we go like this, and then we add it in later at some point, then these things will fill up. But we want this to be added right when the component renders, essentially, right when the component mounts. So we can have a use effect here. So we can say like initially show this, but once the component is mounted, then we can add this other thing. And we only need to do it once, because all the bars, like when you add a bar, they'll just stay that way. So we can use a use effect here. So we could say use effect and add a use effect up here. Yeah, okay. So, and before we actually do that, let's look at some other, like, let's see if we change this, what happens. So let's say this is scale y. What happens? So scale y, we go bar filled, or bar full. Okay, so you can see how it goes from the center and it goes up. So essentially you want to give the origin, and then you want to give like scale x, scale y, there's like rotate, a bunch of other ones. You can look these up, but the ones we want here, scale x. So essentially, let's go back to what we wanted. So scale x, 0 to 1. You want it to start from the left, and then all this. And then yeah, also if you say the transition is not a transform, like let's say you want the background color to change, for example, color, and then we give it like a new background color of like blue. You can do this with anything you want. So now what will happen is this background color change will take 2 seconds. So bar full. So it starts off as, or I guess, okay, yeah. So just to show that one more time. So essentially the transformation happens right away. Like it's fully there, but yeah, okay. So, or actually, sorry, both of these happen. But the transformation that happens instantly is the 0 to 1, but the one that takes a while is the blue. So you see the green happens instantly, but the blue is there. And I think you can even give it multiple things, so we can go like transition transform, or this, and we can give it transform, I think. So we can give it like multiple, and then in this case, basically now what should happen is both of them will do that. Yeah, so you see it's like both. So that's kind of how transitions work, and it's kind of nice because it basically just auto CS. Like you don't need to ever put any CSS change in a use effect or some weird set timeout thing. You can just, or use effect you do, but some weird set timeout thing, you can just use CSS directly. All right, so let's get rid of this background color now. So now essentially what we want is we want this use effect, but we only want it to happen once, and then we don't want it to happen ever again. So we can have a state here. So we can say like full, add full, or set full, or whatever. Full is a use state. I'm just gonna call it full and add full, but you can use full and I guess here I'll just change it. Okay, so use effect. It only needs to run once. And basically what we need to do is we need to, if it was already full, we don't need to do anything. So let's see what happens if we just like always set full when it runs once. So we can just say like set full. Okay. And here in this class name, we're going to need to give it the bar full based on if the set full is true. Alternatively, we can just make this a string as well, right? So we can go set full and we can make this a string. And basically set full can just add bar full. That works too. Okay. And now we can go basically. So actually what we can do instead is we can give the first class name can just be bar. We can even do this so it'll be easier. So bar, and then we want to change it to both of these. And now we can do set full or full. And so we don't need any kind of like weird string stuff. So let's see what happens here. So this works. Okay. So essentially this is fine as well, basically. So essentially what's going on here, I wasn't sure if it would reset. I think what happens here is as you add more, so you have these in an array, and you do the map like over and over once you add a new progress bar. Like basically once you add a new progress bar, this state will change. You will redo the map, but because these already have a key, like these won't get unmounted essentially. So, and we can even check for that. So we can say like console log unmount. So what this will do is basically when this component gets unmounted, we will write this unmount guy. So let's see what happens. So if we add a bunch of components. Okay, so we did get unmount here. So I actually did get unmounted, which is interesting. Oh, right, sorry. So this doesn't mean unmounted. This just means actually, let's see. Let's look at this. So, whoops. So let's do one. Okay, so it said unmount right away. This might also be because of strict mode. Not sure. Oh, I think it does have strict mode actually. Okay, this makes sense. So strict mode just so they run twice. That's what it is. So they don't really unmount. I think they just unmount and then have the strict mode. So essentially each component will unmount like once, yeah, and then remount again. But you can see like when we add a new component, it's not like these four that this went up 4 more times. It only went up 1 more time because of strict mode. So if we actually gave this, if we passed in like a key or something, we could see that clearer. So let's do that actually. So let's give it a like a prop. So we can go like ID. Okay. And now let's go ID. And now let's just console log the ID. So now we'll be able to see like anytime this re-renders. So we don't need this. And just do this. Okay. So if we restart and we go like this. Okay, so you can see that ID 0 looks like mounted, or it re-rendered 4 times. Let me clear this. Okay, so if I add, Re-rendered 4 times. Okay, so it did. Oh, right, it did re-render once because it first renders twice with the what's it called, the strict mode, and then we change the state here, and then it re-renders again twice. So, but now if we add another one, you could see like this one is not, or shouldn't be anyway, re-rendering. Oh, it actually did re-render. Oh, did it? Actually, I'm not so sure about that. Let's see if we had another one. Yeah, so it did re-render, or sorry, it re-rendered, but it didn't like change it in the DOM. Yeah, so this did re-render like in React, I guess, but it's not going to change it in the DOM. So in the DOM, like this, nothing changed essentially. Okay. So yeah, basically, hopefully that makes sense how you need to dynamically add this transition field to it. If you have it in right away, it's not going to work because it'll just do the second, it'll basically just do the second thing right away. So essentially for these transitions, you need to say like after some time, give it this thing. Okay, so just to do a sum up basically here, so we can get rid of that. So essentially, if you want to do things that move where CSS changes, you want to use transitions and transformations as opposed to some hacky things with state. And yeah, and essentially like you can do scale X, you can do scale Y, you can do like rotate. There's a bunch of other ones in here that you can look into. And I think you can even, there's like a site you can go on, or you can just like Google transformations and then it will just give you CSS to give you what you want. And then we'll do more of these in like harder components, I guess. This is also like a thing that I'm not super good at. So going to be good to like learn more stuff, I guess. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this one.